are live, and I'm so excited again. So this is for you, everybody. If you are interested in wholesale, knowing exactly what wholesale is, how to get your products out there, and setting prices and all that, you're at the right place. And we have our lovely guest here, Paige Jack. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is so fun.
I'm so honored to be here.
So we're here in Nashville, and I'll let you tell us exactly where we are today and where we're filming.
Okay, well, my name is Paige Jack. I am from Washington, D.C., but I have familiar roots here in Nashville, and I am a resident art director, creative director, as well as a marketer, and we are here in one of my various jobs at The Trenches, which is a gallery, a makerspace, and a streetwear boutique located on historic Buchanan Street in North Nashville. You guys can't see right now, but we essentially offer retail products that are from local craftsmen, artisans, and designers. We have a makerspace right behind me that allows designers to come in and actually create their products, especially if they need assistance with fulfillment and just kind of scaling up their production. We have a sewing machine and embroidery machine and just CAD design technology, which is really awesome, just to be able to help empower the artists here and give them a space to really come and amplify their business. So it's a really unique spot. I hope you guys get to check it out. I designed the space as far as interiors, exteriors, and the creative vision of it all, but I also assist in the process of sourcing materials and businesses and artisans to get their items here in store too. So it's really an honor. It is a lifelong dream of mine to do something like this. So bucket list.
I'm so excited for you, and she did a really good job on the place, and I can't wait for you all to come see it for yourself. And we might show you a little bit, just depending on timing today. But first, speaking of just artisan, and before we even get to wholesale, I want to know your background as far as retail and how you got into it.
Okay, so interestingly enough, I've just always had a passion for fashion. My parents were both heavily involved in the fashion industry. Even my great aunt actually worked in New York as a seamstress. And I've just really always been interested in fashion just to purchase. I gained, a love of design and just the whole idea of retail, just honestly through shopping and just really identifying unique shopping experiences. And so actually my first job I ever had was in DC at a local, like just small and Black owned upscale boutique. And that is where I gathered almost all of my information I currently use today. I gathered at the age of 16 from these two women who own this amazing boutique. And her story was so inspiring. She essentially was working in IT, had an amazing passion for travel, and through her travel was able to meet all these artisans and small product makers and designers and buy their items and come back, and she was just hoarding them for a while.
Wow.
Seriously, until she was able to just have the faith to just say, I'm just gonna go ahead and create a store. And so her passion for really hand sourcing these items, materials, and these designers was really inspiring to me. Seeing her go through the process of educating young and new designers on how to get their items in store, what that looks like, the wholesale process just taught me everything I needed to know. So that was the start of my process. Now, me wanting to advocate for the artist has been a lifelong journey of mine. I've always felt like whatever job I do, it would come through the idea of really just trying to support and amplify someone's artistry, because I'm an artist and I always want to fight for us. So I think I've been doing this my whole life, but I got my start in retail at 16. So it's a full circle. Yeah, it's a full circle moment.
I think about that too, because a lot of our jobs, like our first jobs, kind of mold us into like we learn so much and we don't realize it until later. Especially with retail. Like
absolutely.
At the time, it comes sometimes it's like, but you think about it, you learn so much. Like what people are buying, you're seeing it constantly. So now you're in a spot, you're going through the process. It's a brand new shop. You got a makers meetup thing back in there, like makers meetup. You can make some things back there, but I guess my next question would be for you is just the overall process. How do you figure out what you're looking for? And I think this is important for artists to listen to as far as when you're making your product and creating a profile. Earlier, we were talking about Paige was sitting here telling me, you know, she has like a profile for the person that's going to shop here and different things. And I think that's really important for business owners and product owners. So going back to that, what do you look for in the buying process and picking who goes in, and what's kind of the audience for it?
Yeah, so as I was telling Tatiana, I have a document called an audience persona document, and it is a few pages with some basic questions, and I really advise every business owner to draft and create this for any type of project you're working on, no matter what it is. Absolutely think about who your audience is, who you want them to be, and who they realistically are based on the data that you find through your sales, right? Understand where their hobbies are, what they do for a living, where they're from, their age demographic, and break all those things down. And then from that, be able to identify like an individual, right? That is going to be the person who is supporting your business. So I did that for this store. We really sat down and we thought about who is our ideal demographic, what are they interested in, what kind of music do they listen to, where do they hang out? And based on that, we're able to figure out what they would like to buy and spend their money on based on that information. So the way that I go about sourcing, brands to have in store or products is thinking about what fits our ideal consumer and our ideal audience, because ultimately it is about the bottom line. It is about having products in here that connect with the consumer, that solve a problem of the consumer, right? So giving them a source of convenience or solving some sort of dilemma they may be having in the retail space in this market. And I think about that, and I personally go out and find brands. It is super common, and I definitely suggest people actually go and fish for wholesale opportunities and just have packets that present who you are. I absolutely always want to know their brand ethos. I want to know why you do this. You know what I mean? I want to be able to understand your story, understand how you got started. That way we can communicate that to our audience when they come in store and they pick up a candle. And it's like, this candle smells great. Yes, this candle smells great because the candle maker spent a long time in this country. They were inspired by the scents of the beach, and they were able to bring that back here and wanted to keep the idea of the beach close to them. I want to be able to know all that stuff. So, right. Shameless plug. I want to be able to know all those things. So you really need to think about who you are as a business and who and how you'll be able to communicate to a buyer or a store owner what it is that you do. So that is super important.
Then speaking of process, so what I'm coming to the conclusion, a lot of just right now, maybe sometimes wholesale is a different language for some. I think of it when I think of fashion, wholesale for restaurants, but for stores it might be different for people. So can you, I guess, explain to people who don't know or not familiar with wholesale versus commission versus just what's the value? Just explain the two differences.
Okay, so wholesale, I like to kind of think of it almost like a Sam's Club or a Costco, which is like you being the, let's say the business, so you are the maker, and let's say you have a candle company, right? You will be offering your product to a store that will sell your item retail. You'll be giving it to them in bulk, and you will be selling each item for a lesser value because it's in bulk. So essentially, let's say your item is originally $20 per whatever it is. You will be selling that to a retail store, a small business, or a big box store for a determined percentage less than what you would sell it at for its individual value. You place more value on getting rid of a larger source of inventory than you do on just selling the individual product. So that's essentially what wholesale is. Now, I have seen commission items, especially if you are an artisan, a craftsman, or a small business owner who makes like lesser quantities of things. You make one-of-ones, one-offs, or just a few, a limited run of something. I have seen instances where you can be offered a commission. So you bring the item in store, you aren't paid for it in advance, but when it does sell, you get a percentage, or the store gets a percentage of what the cost of the product was. So depending on the type of maker you are, your process, your fulfillment schedule, and how much you're willing to create, one of those will be an adequate source of income for you outside of just selling it individually.
True, look, true.
Yeah.
And then speaking of that too, I guess tell them the steps to get into the wholesale part of everything, like the process and what they need, especially the line sheet.
Yes, you absolutely need a line sheet. And even before you get to the line sheet, I always remind people to, number one, list out all of your products. Put it on an Excel spreadsheet, right? Say, I have a pair of earrings. Start to define the cost. So the cost of your material. So if you use brass and you use, a stud, how much do those cost? And then you want to value how much it costs to actually make it, whether it's you making it, so you have to place a value on your time, or if you have an employee or someone else making it, how much does that cost? Identify that, add those together and figure out the cost of your product. Then you want to identify what your margin is going to be, right? So typically in average wholesale situations, you will determine your minimum purchase order, right? So that means thinking about how many am I going to allow you to kind of buy in before I let you get into a wholesale price? And it's totally up to you. But you also want to consider that the average sort of wholesale buy-in is, if you sell your product for $20, the store is going to want to sell that for 100% markup. So that means they're going to buy that $20 item from you for $10 per item. So you want to make sure that your minimum purchase order is something that will cover the cost of your materials, the cost of your labor, and just the value on your time, because they're going to want to buy it from you for half the price of what you retail it for. So once you identify your numbers and your margins, then you want to create a line sheet. And I think it's important too on a line sheet to also have a cover letter or something similar attached that just says, this is who I am, this is what my brand does, this is what my artistry is about, or something like that. Then a few simple items on there. Line sheets should be easy to read, simple, clean, succinct. So it should have an image of the product. It should have the price as far as the wholesale cost, the minimum purchase, and the suggested retail. You can also, at the end of your line sheets, include fulfillment time. So what is your lead time on this? How long will it take this customer who is in the store to actually get your item? Will it take them 2 weeks, 3 weeks? And so you also have a minimum purchase order, which means when they first do business with you, how many do they need to get in order to start a wholesale relationship? And then when they need to reorder, what is your reorder minimum amount as well? So just to circle all that back around, you need a line sheet, you need a product image, you'll need the wholesale cost, suggested resale cost, your fulfillment time, as well as your minimum purchase order. So those are super simple, and it all starts with you really understanding your numbers. So when you begin to start in the wholesale process, you want to always figure out how to make the cost of your product as low as possible to manufacture and make, because that means your margin will be bigger and you'll make more money off of the wholesale process. So always make sure. I know for a lot of artists, that whole math thing is daunting. It is for me. I just can't do it, which is why I'm not selling a product, because that is the scariest part about putting value on your time. It's hard for us to do as artists. And so, but you have to do it.
It's a must.
It's a must to make sure that you get what you need. And I'm in such a unique position because I want to fight for the artist. I want to tell the artist, place the cost of your product as high as you want it to. But then I'm also on the side of the business and saying, okay, it has to be able to sell. So I'm kind of in a weird place, but I'm speaking to you all more so from a position of the artist and just saying, value your time, value your product, but also be mindful of the materials that you're using and how long it takes you to make it, so that you can continue to really allow wholesale to be your bread and butter, because as a maker, it absolutely can be. You can kind of have guaranteed income based on having a wholesale relationship that is going to come in once a month. It's just a really great way to allow something to sustain your other creative initiatives. So I just suggest that every maker get involved as soon as they possibly can. So
I agree. I would think too, I guess we can go to some tips that you may have for some makers that want to get into wholesale. And I know one I can just think of at the top of my head is when you're going to these different places to do wholesale. Let's say I'll mention it, candles. You want to do candles. Let's say you have some on your website. Cool, everybody's buying them, it's fun. but instead, you know, you want to offer those same candles in a different store, a good thing would be offering a different color and make it exclusive to that store.
Absolutely.
So I'll bring that as my one, and you can tell us some more.
Absolutely. You want to think about, so there's an interesting shift that takes place when you go from being an artisan to then introducing wholesale, because your relationship from business to customer then goes from business to business.
B2B.
And so B2B. And so that business now is your customer, right? So you have to think about what is most advantageous for them, because that is your customer. So if you offer, let's say you offer a wallet, and you sell the wallet to this business, and based on the margin that you guys come in agreement with, what if your product is less expensive on your website than it is in your store? That's not going to be great for their client base. And as a business approaching another business about a wholesale opportunity, you really want to approach the business owner or the store buyer as a position of, this is how my products can serve your client base. And so if you are going to be interested in selling a product, like she said, you want to think about how to make it unique or different, and that will still, you know, bring your audience to this retail store. It will expand your product to a bigger audience, but it won't undercut the store that you are wholesaling to, because that happens, and not even on purpose, just because we don't do the numbers right.
Yeah.
We say, hey, I'm gonna sell it to you for 30, you sell it for 60, but you have it on your website for 50 or 40.
Yeah.
And so when people get a hold of that, they're not going to come by the store, and then now they don't have a reason to book your wholesale opportunity, and then you lost that opportunity. So just think about how to make maybe something super special and, you know, only available in this store. Changing the color of the label, changing, you know, one piece of the scent, changing the color of the glassware or something like that, that makes it unique and makes their audience connect better with the product, because they're coming into a store that, again, has a certain persona attached to it. So just think about, your new client is not your individual customer. Your new client will be the business. And how do you align your product with their goals as a business? It's really something that you have to kind of shift your mind to think about when you get into the wholesale process. That's cool.
And I'm thinking too now, we talked about wholesale and different things, and we're sitting here in Trenches, it's a new spot, and I'd like for you to just share a little bit more about what's going on and what people should look forward to here too.
It's so amazing, and so much to say here. It's really unique because everything that you see in here, whether it is a book, a candle, a shirt, a pair of shorts, they are all made by small, independent, you know, store owners, brands, designers, handmakers, and artisans. So it's really cool, and it will be rotating, which is another opportunity if you want to get into stores. Maybe you don't want to necessarily have a full-term wholesale relationship, because that can be challenging for some. Just thinking about what it takes to fulfill that and how to get it here. We are doing residency programs. We'll just have your product in store, and we'll offer that on a commission base. That way you don't have to necessarily lock yourself into a wholesale structure. You can say, hey, I make leather bags. I have 5 of them and 5 of them only. Here's the cost. And we'll bring them in the store. We'll even create, again, utilizing your ethos and your brand story. We'll even, you know, promote you all on our website, our social, and say, hey, this brand is so interesting. They have leather that's coming in from Peru, and they're hand making it, or whatever the case may be. And per each product that we sell, we will offer, or we will take a commission, which is usually the lesser half of the value. So if it's $100, let's just say hypothetically, we would take 10% of that, and you would have the other 90%. So that's a really good option too for artisans who aren't necessarily ready for a wholesale opportunity, but want to test out their product in stores and just, you know, have some visibility in a space that's outside of sometimes an echo chamber for your brand, because you have the same audience. So even if you're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, it's probably a similar audience. So in order to kind of branch out, it's great to just do like a trial run in stores. So we'll have those every single month. We'll have different artists. We actually have a rotating gallery residency for those artists, visual artists out there. Every single month, we'll be featuring one artist in store. We'll allow them to have an opening and closing reception, as well as just monthly and weekly content that goes on our website and socials to really highlight and amplify their work. We also have internships and fellowships available for individuals, not just students, individuals interested in retail, fashion, design, or art, to be able to come in store and really understand and learn about the process and be given the opportunity that she and I were given. Because like she said, sometimes it just takes that one thing, that one position to help you really launch, your career, your artistry. So it's just really unique, and we'll continue to utilize this space as a hub for conversations, artistry, and just making in general, and really just empowering the maker. That is what the Trenches is all about. So I really hope you guys get to come and see and check us out, and even potentially have some of your items in store. Yes. I would love to see what you all have to offer, and even if there's some education that needs to be provided to really learn how to do this, I'm super open to extending that. So please let me know how I can help.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
Love it. I don't think there's anything else. I wish we could see some of you all's questions, but I'll make sure for the next one that we do, or even Camilla does, that we have it where we can get some questions ahead of time from everybody. But as you can see and heard from Paige herself, if you have any questions, hit her up or just make a visit to the store. And they're opening back up tomorrow. They had to close because they had to restock. Like it was that
serious.
Like for real. So yeah, it just goes to show you, like, this is, it could possibly be you in the store selling out of your own, product. So
absolutely,
I'm really excited. And again, thank you for your time. Like, I had so much fun, like for real. And
thank you.
I just want to thank Camilla, for even getting me involved in Tennessee Craft Estate, Mater too, for making this happen. Just emailing and keeping us on it. I'm looking forward to the rest of a great year with you all, and I'm excited. So.
Yeah.
And make sure you visit Hendersonville Library. We have a lot of our makers in there, including myself, and a lot of cool artists that you all should check out. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.